Hi there. I've been building this Avanti Patterns plane now for quite a while, and I've got to the stage where I need to start shaping the fuselage. At the moment it looks like a fence post. It's a great big block of square wood, and what we need to come up with is a lovely bullet shaped fuselage, as you can see on the plans here. And I thought it'd be quite useful to do a video just showing how I find the best way is to create that lovely bullet shape, to get rid of all this timber and to make it into a lovely slick fuselage. Now we're going to shape this fuselage in 3 steps. Essentially, first step, we're going to remove the material on the sides here to give us a nice plan view shape of what the fuselage should look like. We're then going to remove the material from the top and the bottom of the fuselage to give us a nice side elevation. And then at that point, the third stage will be to remove the corners, the material on the corners, to give us that finished bullet shape. And then after those 3 stages, of course, it's going to need a lot of sanding to smooth it off and just to get it absolutely right. But the gross shaping will be done in those 3 stages. And we've got this nose ring on the front here, which is really useful because it's a good thing to aim for when we're removing the material from the sides and the top, and also the corners. But there's a lot of information on the plans that we can use to make up some templates that give us a really good guide on what material needs to be removed. Okay, so for stage 1 of the process, we need to look at the plan view of the fuselage, and we can see how they show the shape that it should be and the material that needs to be removed. And we can make ourselves a cardboard template that just fits the shape that it needs to be finally. And that will come right back here to F3 crossformer, where the fuselage more or less becomes parallel. And it includes that nose ring, a vital reference point. And once we've got this former, we can put this, line it up on the fuselage, on the top and on the bottom, and we can draw a line to show where the balsa needs to be removed to get that nice shape in the plan view. Once we've got that done, we're going to look at the side elevation of the fuselage down here, which gives us that really nice shape. Now there's a little bit that will come out here for the engine bay, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. We're going to make up a template, or we've made up a template that shows that lovely bullet shape again, and coming back again to F3. Once we've got that, we can put that on the side of the fuselage, and we can draw again the shape that the fuselage needs to be to get that bullet shape. Now, stage 3 of the process is to remove the corners. And to do that, or to help us with that, we're going to make up 2 formers that correspond to the shape of the side of the fuselage at F2 and F3. And this is F2. Here it shows the former and the shape the fuselage needs to be finally. And we can make up a former for that. And we've also got one there for that. And so when we're removing the material from the corners, we can keep putting this in place and seeing how close we are to the finished shape that we need to be, making sure we line them up with the 2 crossformers. This is F3, so that needs to be back there. And we can keep removing the material until we get pretty close, or the, you know, what it should be. We need to be careful we don't remove too much material, because the material we're going to move, the gross material in these 3 stages, we're going to be using a plane, a David plane. But once we've got to where we need to be, we're going to need to use a sanding stick, and I make my own sanding sticks like this. Have a look in the description below if you want to see how I make these. So we'll use a sanding stick to get the finished lovely bullet shaped profile. So now I'll get this marked up using the templates, and we'll start to get some of that material removed. Right, I've just taped this template onto the fuselage here, onto the bit where it goes more or less parallel sided, and I've lined it up with the ring at the end, the nose ring, and I've just gone round and drawn now on the top of the fuselage just where that line is for taking material off. And if we take off the tape now, we can see we need to take off quite a lot to meet that nose ring. So I'm going to mark up the underside exactly the same, and then we'll start to remove some of the timber. But again, we'll just put this on and we'll take this into place. Right, I'm going to start removing this balsa now, and I'm going to be using my David plane. These are fantastic. If you want to see a review of this, have a look in the description below, and there'll be a link to a review I did quite a while ago. Now we're going to be just taking it off the nose, and you can see I'm working on a towel. Last thing we want to be doing is profiling this, getting it nice, and then sort of putting dints and in the underside. So a nice soft towel to sit it on, and it will stop it sliding as we push to plane. So we'll start to remove this, which is a very rewarding process. But what we need to do is make sure that the material we're moving isn't just from the top or the bottom, that it's actually all the way across. So we keep checking this with a set square to make sure that we're not just going down on one side and not the other. So I will remove this now on both sides, and then we'll come back and have a look and get the top marked up, so the sides marked up, sorry, so we can remove it from the top of the material, from the top and the bottom. Right, we've now brought these sides in to meet that nose ring on the front, and that's made quite a difference. You can see it's starting to shape up already. So on to stage 2 now, and we need to get this template in position, and I'll line it up now, I'll tape it in position, and then we'll have a look at that. It might take me a minute just to get it right. Right, I've now got that taped in place, and I'm happy that that will give us a good nose shape. And essentially this is kind of the gross shaping, and then finally the sanding will come in and finish it off. So what we're going to do now is mark this, and that will give us, our planing line to work to. It's really exciting to do this and to see it starting to take shape. And by doing it in these steps, I find it just very kind of methodical to go through, rather than just trying to do it freehand and getting the best shape you can. So I need to just take the tape off that and just draw in where that is. There we go. And now we have our shape, and you can see there's not a huge amount to come off here and here, a little bit there, a little bit there, but the big difference will be made when we start to take off these corners. So I'm going to do the bottom of the fuselage first, and again we'll just use this David plane to take off the balsa. Right, stage 2 completed. If we look on the side there, we can see we've taken a bit off here, a little bit off here. We've brought this up to meet the nose ring, and we've taken a little bit off the back here. So now we're going to be moving on to doing the corners, and that's when it really needs to, or start to take shape. We need to be careful that, because this is a little bit of freehand here, we need to be careful that we're bringing this in at a nice angle. So we just need to make sure what we're doing isn't too much of a dead straight line, and it is curving in a little bit towards that nose. There's obviously still a lot to come off here, and one of the things that we can do to give us a guide is we have this F3 template what we can do is we can fold this like this, and we can use that there, and we can draw around that like that, just to give us the amount that we have to take off on either side. And we can do that here. There we go. And we can see as a guide there how much we need to take off to give us an idea of the overall shape of this. So we'll go down and take that off first, I think. And then once we've got this off either side, I think we'll start to shape the nose in and bring it around. I might just turn this around and go against the grain this way. Yeah, that's smoother. Right, we're almost down to that now, a little bit more to come off. Turn this around, I think. Just, you can see there, that's starting to come down to that line. So I'll get on and do both sides and just start to bring this nose in, and we'll have a look as it's getting almost to shape. Right, we're really cracking on with this now. We've got this back section more or less finished really and ready for sanding. You can see how, if I hold it like that hopefully, you can see we've got the basic shape there, and that comes all the way down to about here where the nose wheel hole is. And if we turn it round, now we just need to bring these corners down and round this bit over. So, I mean, this came across more or less in a straight line, you know, with the fuselage, and now we're just starting to curve down. So I will remove all this material and we'll have a look before we go up top and start doing the upper surface. But it's so nice to see it starting to take shape like this. Okay, another update. So this side is finished now for the moment, and this side we've done this bit and I've just planed that bit down. Now I haven't gone as close to the ring as I would like, because if I do I will start splitting off the surface. I did catch it just here of the plywood. So the last bit I'll do it by sanding, but we can see this is nice, this is nice. This is just a little bit high here, a little bit of a bump that we just need to get out to get that a nice smooth shape. So once we've got this bit done, we've got this bit done, we then need to move on to these kind of shoulders almost, and just make sure that we have a nice kind of smooth transition really from sort of here down into that nose ring. So we'll just take off a little bit more, and we're almost there now. I don't really want to take off too much more until we've got the top done and we can see how we're getting on with our profiles. So we'll turn this up now, and we'll start to think about taking these top corners off, which is going to be an interesting job. It'll be nice to get these done. Now I think we haven't got much to go on here like we had with the other profiles. We have got F2, which we can put on, which is kind of about there, which gives us an idea of where we should be coming round to. So what we can do is we can just put a rough pencil mark on there. I know this isn't quite right because we've still got a gap, but it kind of gives us an indication of where we need to be coming to. And we'll do the same on this side, just to bring that in like that, and put another pencil line on. And really I think it all needs to come off except for a central section here. So we'll do this bit first, and as we do this bit we'll also bring down these cheeks. Now I I don't want to go too far back just at the moment, because we need to think about the canopy and how that's going and how that fits onto the nose. But we'll just get these top bits done first. Right, we've taken off quite a bit here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to take the template for F2 and we're going to see what kind of fit that is. And we can see it needs something coming off the bottom underneath, and perhaps a little bit off the top as well, certainly on this shoulder here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this profile until we can get that to fit on there without any gaps. And the more material we remove, as long as it looks right, the lighter the fuselage is going to be and the better this thing will fly. So we need to work our way down to this template. To be honest, it probably won't take a lot to do that, but I will get on and do that. So it's just a case of trying and planing. We'll get back to this bit in a bit. We're just going to get this section profiled right. I haven't even done the nose up around the top yet. Now that's definitely getting better, but there's still more to come off. So I'll get on and do this now and we'll have a look once it's done. Right, we've now got that F2 location pretty good. You can see there's very little light under the template there, and I'm quite pleased with how that's looking. And once we start sanding it, we can get that just how we want it. There's no point in taking more off with the plane. So what we need to do now is move back to this location with F3 and do exactly the same thing. And you can see there's quite a lot to come off there to get this to the right shape. Okay, I thought it was worth having another quick look at the profiles. And you can see on this side, certainly, we've got F2 done, which we saw earlier, but now we have F3 location done. And that's looking really sweet. Going to do the other side now, and then I'll bring the nose down. Right, we've now got both sides done at F2 and F3. We can see F3, there we go, a little bit of a gap, but not a lot. And at F2, similarly, a little bit of a gap, but not a lot. So, and that's totally doable now with a sanding stick, sandpaper. So, I mean, that starts to look really, really nice. If you remember what it was like before, the great square chunk. What we need to do now is we just need to take down these corners to meet this nose ring. You can see I've already started there. It's a bit awkward with the plane because the grain, all of the grain we've been sanding so far has been going that way, but the grain on these pieces comes upwards, so it just makes it a little bit trickier to plane. So we'll probably leave a good piece to do with a sanding stick, just so we're not splitting out the grain on that last bit. So I will get those done now. I mean, really, we're just bringing these round now and bringing them down to match that nose ring, and that's going to look really good. I mean, we've got on the plans, if you remember, there was a bit of a cutout that comes right down here. So we'll shape this and then we'll probably just cut that out. Okay, I've got both sides sanded now, and we've got this final bit just to cut out before we take the sanding stick to it. And I think really the best way to do that now is just to run across that with a razor saw, and just to get that nice and square. And I'll leave a generous bit on there, I won't go too mad, and then we can sand that to shape later. There we go, that's one side, and now the other side. So now we have a, I was going to say roughly shaped fuselage, but actually that's looking really good compared to the stick that we started with. And you can see from the front we're starting to get that lovely sleek Avanti Patterns plane finish, and really it's all down to the sanding now. Well, I've given this all a coarse sand now and it feels and looks absolutely lovely. I'm really pleased with it. I've still got to go over with a finer garnet paper. I think I was using worn 80 grit, so it's quite coarse, but now just something like 240 to really get this smooth and to get that final profile done. But you can see from what the fence post it was to start with, it's looking really, really nice. And we can shoehorn the engine in the front and get an idea of what it's going to look like with this great Irvine 61 in the front powering it. So anyway, I'm going to draw this video to a close now, and I hope you found it useful and interesting. It can be quite daunting shaping a fuselage from what is a big square fence post, but if you use just a few templates, information that we can glean from the plans, then it is a huge help. And I hope this video has gone some way in helping you if you've got a fuselage coming up that you need to shape. But anyway, thanks very much for watching.